There we go. There we go. To put in our members area. Welcome to Module 1, the very first training that we're going to do for the Google Ad training course. This is an updated course. There has been a couple of significant changes. We're gonna stab at a little bit of the changes tonight. Tonight, it's mostly though about strategizing Google Ads. That's mostly what we're going to be talking about, because before we ever start to get into the nitty gritty of writing the Google Ads, before we start to get into the nitty gritty of where we're going to put the Google Ads out to and the keywords and all of that, we need to know the reason behind all of it. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, if you're on Facebook, you may or may not be. Some of the people at Facebook could be part of the program already, but if you're not, I will actually put the link below this video later. If you did want to sign up for either the course, or if you're part of the ad coaching club, you actually get in as well, and you get all of the keywords. We're going to be through the course, inside of the course member area, you get access to ad examples. So we're going to be even giving you some new ad examples from last time. We're going to be giving you how to do the assets, and that's one of the new things that's going on with Google Ads, how to really figure out if your campaign's working well, all the lists of the keywords. There's a lot that goes into, I'm not going to water it down, right? There's a lot that goes into Google Ads. Now, having said that, it's not rocket science. All of you, if you figured out how to get on this Zoom meeting, you can figure out how to do it, right? So that being said, let me go ahead and I sometimes hesitate to do this because my screen changes kind of weird, but I'm going to go ahead and go full screen on this in just a second. We are going to have a little bit of time for Q&A. Not a whole lot, but we will have a little bit of time. Basically, if you are a club member and you're on the Zoom, you definitely have precedence. If you're a club member and I happen to see you in the Facebook live, then if I realize that you're a club member, you'll have precedence. But depending on how many questions we got, we may or may not have time to answer everybody's, but we'll try. I mean, I'm going to try. I probably intend on going for about an hour. I've got at least half an hour of content to go over first, and then we'll get into Q&A just right after that. If you're on the Zoom, by the way, you can go ahead and put the questions in anytime you have them. You won't interrupt me, but keep in mind I may or may not see it when you put them in. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can go ahead and put them in. I'll try to refresh it. I'll try to see it. Sometimes it's tough because it doesn't refresh right away, but nonetheless, I will make that attempt to be able to do that. So everybody can hear me. Everybody can see me. Awesome. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Matt. Everybody too that's on Facebook, I can see some of your comments already, so that's perfect. So here we go. We're just going to dive right in. And okay, good. And so here we go. So again, talking about strategizing your Google Ads. That's really what we're going to be going over, because without a good strategy, if you're going to go take a trip across the country, even though we have Google Maps, you still need to figure out where you're going first so that you don't get absolutely lost, right? AI is great, but you still need to know kind of where you're going. Now, when I mention Google Ads, I sometimes hear this kind of feedback from you guys where it's, oh my gosh, I don't want anything to do with Google Ads, right? And I get it. Advertising can be scary, for sure. Advertising can waste money. I have talked to cleaners that have been my clients, before I was ever doing Google Ads for them, that have lost thousands of dollars. Okay, one quick incident I'll tell you. It's a client who has a fairly sizable janitorial company in a big city. He listened to his Google ad rep give him all sorts of recommendations, thinking, oh, it's my representative from Google. And he literally wasted, I think he had spent $2,000 and didn't get a single client from it, $2,000 extra dollars that he normally didn't usually spend, just wasted from the recommendations from his Google ad rep. And as a quick side note, one of the things we're going to talk about, your Google ad rep is not in your best interest or in Google's best interest, right? You remember the Yellow Pages days? If any of you were in business back then, it was the same thing. Your Yellow Page rep was not for you. He was for the Yellow Pages. Same thing with your Google ad rep. Having said that, there are some things that they can help you with, but not for a strategy, not for what we're really going to be even talking about tonight. There's a lot of things that are bad. Now, if you go to Cleaners Connect, if you go to my group, if you go to Truck Map Forums, anywhere, and say, hey, does Google Ads work? You're going to get a list of people that say Google Ads is great, Google Ads is terrible, Google Ads is great. So what does that mean? Well, the funny thing is, That happens with any type of marketing. You can ask about EDDM postcards, you'll get the same thing. You could ask about referral marketing. You can ask, are realtors good to market to? You can ask all of those, you'll get the same thing. Here's really the bottom line of the truth of all of that. Okay, it depends on how you use it. If you do Google Ads the right way, it can be great. If you don't do it the right way, it's going to be terrible. You got to do it the right way for it to work well, right? A little bit about me. I know almost everybody here, so I'm not going to take a lot of time to go over, much about me, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows a tiny bit of background about me. I did own a cleaning company for 22 years. We were pretty much the highest priced always for carpet cleaning, rug cleaning, tile cleaning. We did water damage restoration. We did hardwood floor finishing and upholstery cleaning, leather cleaning. We did all of that. I started when I was in college, majoring in advertising. I'd worked for somebody doing carpet cleaning for a couple of months and decided, hey, I could do it. If you could do it, I could do it. I wanted to practice advertising to start a business. Eventually, I started making more money than I thought I'd make, and I just stayed in the business, for a while. And people started seeing my ads. I eventually started creating hitman advertising because other cleaners were asking me, hey, can you do a website for me? Can you do this postcard? They liked some of the stuff that I did. So that's why I eventually started hitman advertising. So getting right into Google and talking about Google. We did a lot of Google ads, by the way. What I wanted to point out about that too is we did a lot of Google ads. I probably started doing Google ads on my own cleaning company probably the year it started. As soon as I heard about it, back when the clicks were like 50 cents or $1 or less, right? So clicks were really, really cheap back then. I can't remember the exact year, but I don't know. I'd probably be wrong if I said it, but a while ago, right? And since then I've done Google ads probably for more cleaning companies than anybody else. That's questionable. I don't know for sure, but I know I've done Google ads and looked into hundreds of different cleaning companies' Google ads, maybe even close to 1,000. I'm not sure. I haven't really counted, but I've done a lot, right? So I would feel safe to say I am an expert in this topic, especially for cleaning and restoration companies. Okay, so moving forward, just to make sure that you guys understand what really goes on with Google and what Google's really all about. Here we go, and we type in carpet cleaning Denver, right? And what do we have? We've got a search that shows up, and the neat thing is Google, let me go ahead and get my pen out. I think I can, we go get the red color. So these are Google local ads, right? So this isn't necessarily Google ads. Do I recommend that you do these? I'd give you a firm maybe. There's a lot of, we're not going to get into all the ins and outs, but there's a lot of good and bad about that. I'd probably say mostly bad because it's so expensive. That's the two things to realize. This is Google local, Google guaranteed, right? It's really expensive. You can only say two things in the ad, so you're on an equal playing field with your competition. I hate that about advertising, right? Google ads is not that, right? So you're paying, I'm hearing from carpet cleaners, even in almost any type of cleaning and restoration, except for water damage. Mold is probably going to be more. Air duct cleaning is probably going to be more. Everything else is probably going to be in the $20 to $100 range on average, right? And then anywhere in between there, depending on what your competitors are bidding for, right? So super expensive, for a lead. Now, the one good thing is it is supposedly a lead, but if you've ever done it, you always know that a lead isn't necessarily that great. Sometimes it just means that somebody called and left you a message and now you're paying money, right? So and two, they're doing some kind of shady things now with, I don't know, we won't get into all the ins and outs, but it's questionable about some other things that they're doing with this to get other competitors, even after you're the lead. So it's kind of weird, right? So this is Google guaranteed, Google local, right? Google ads show up right underneath that. And here's the other interesting thing. It shows up over anything organic, right? So you've got this is most expensive. This is the second most expensive. How much are the clicks here? Again, they vary a lot. Anywhere on the low end, maybe $4. On the high end for anything but maybe water damage and air duct cleaning, probably 10, maybe 11. Air duct cleaning and water damage could be in the $15, $20, $25 range, maybe even more than that, right? So I'm not capping it at any particular number, but a lot less all the way around than this can be. Right. The other neat thing is you can say almost whatever you want within reason. There are some exclusions, right? So this is great, right? Now, I want you to notice this. I Googled this just before the meeting. Carpet cleaning Denver, right? And we've got Google local up here, and we've got zero res showing up in a Google ad. And then we've got zero res showing up. This is probably a max performance ad, right? And this, we've got a module already in the course about how to set one up. There's a few things that have changed with that, so I'm actually going to redo that module coming up here pretty soon. But just letting you know, though, that this is something that you can show up for an ad. Sometimes there's ifs, ands, and buts about it, but you can show up for an ad for that. As well, they're showing up organically for this, and they've got an organic listing. It's not shown here, but they've got an organic listing like number 2 or number 3 in Google. And I did this another time during a video for Denver, and they had a Google local ad, they had the Google map ad, they had this ad, they had an organic listing here, and they were number 1 in Google. Now, ask yourself this. Does Zero Res have some common sense and some smarts to them in the marketing, about their marketing? Everybody say yes, they do. Now, I don't recommend that we just go and follow franchises and what they're doing, because a lot of times we don't have the money to do that, right? However, if you do this in a confined area, and or if you really want to get known for one particular service, you can do this too. Or if you're in a small city, this is no problem to do this, right? Back in the heyday, of Google Ads and even, just the search engine as altogether in my cleaning company, some of the times I would take up 5 of the top 10, right? Do you think people called me? Absolutely. Do you think people called Zero Res? Absolutely, right? Even though right now they're only showing up 3 times, actually 4, because they've got I think it's 2 or number 3 down here. So they get calls, right? You can do this too. You don't have to, but you can do this too. I will tell you that if you are doing Google Local, I'd still recommend that you do Google Ads. Why? They might see you twice. They might click on your Google ad instead of Google Local, and it's going to cost you a lot less money. The Google Local ads just get so expensive, right? That's really kind of the bottom line. So let's go over a little bit about why cleaners love Google Ads. There's a video that I've got about this out here, but I still just wanted to touch on this just to make sure that everybody's on the same page about the strategy and why the good parts of doing Google Ads, right? One, Google Ads is such that prospects are actively searching for your service. Facebook is not that. Facebook is they're hanging out at a party and you're walking up to them and going, hey, you want some maid service? You want some carpet cleaning? I heard that you Googled something about Resolve Spot Remover. So, hey, here's an ad. Why don't you get some carpet cleaning? 5 rooms for $89, and that's not attractive unless you're a lower priced. That's the other thing too for Facebook. If you charge lower prices or you've got a low end offer and you can figure out how to upsell them from there, Facebook still can be good, right? If that's not the case, and I do recommend that you charge more money than your competition if you're any good, right? If that's not the case, then Facebook ads is going to be really, really hard. And even if that is the case, Facebook ads can be really, really hard. So the benefit to Google Ads, again, prospects are actively searching for you, especially if you design your ads even remotely close to what I'm going to recommend, here tonight and coming up in the course. As well, results are near the top of Google. We just looked at that in the search. Robbie's mentioning that, he's here because he wants to get out of doing Facebook ads. So that's why he enrolled in the course. So absolutely. So results are showing up at the top of Google, right? This is good, right? It's going to be over even the organic searches. This is really good, actually. So you can easily test your website. So here's the thing too, even if you're doing some SEO, I've literally done SEO for clients and ranked them number 1 in their city, carpet cleaning, maid service, whatever, right? And then they still came to me. This doesn't happen often, so it's not an often thing. But sometimes, they've come to me and, John, I'm still not booking any jobs. And I'm like, why in the world? You're clearly ranking number 1. Well, their website's not very good. And then the bad thing about that too, at that point, their website isn't going to stay number 1 because Google knows that people don't like their website and they're bouncing off of their website, right? So a lot of times, even when I'm doing Google ads for SEO for people, I'll really, maybe not insist, but highly recommend that we do a small amount of Google ads so that we can test the website. I want to know right away. You should want to know too, right away, when you change something or add something. Does your website sell, right? Test your website. It's a great, and really in the long run, it's a cheap way to do it. Even if you spend a few $100, it's still better than what you could have lost by having people go to your website and bounce off and lose SEO because nobody likes your website, right? Number 4, it's very flexible. One of the things that I always loved about it is you can start it, stop it. You can pinpoint certain areas. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but very, very flexible. And if you want to do it only on Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., you can. right? If you only want to do it on Saturday, you can. If you want to skip Saturday and Sunday, you can. If it's going great and now you're busy for 2 weeks and you want to pause it for a week and go on vacation, or you're just busy, you can stop it and you can start at the next. And Facebook ads don't work that way, right? Facebook ads, you almost still have to keep it rolling for everything to be working well. Very flexible, start it and stop it whenever. You can pinpoint exactly where you want to target. So a lot of times when I talk to cleaners about, which cities do you want to target, they're like, well, the city's really fluid. But my big thing is like, well, where do you really want to target? Because this is like, it's an open book, wherever you want to go, right? Super, super flexible. I love that about it. And kind of with that, there's really no commitments. You can decide to do it for a month and quit, never do it again, right? You can decide to spend $5,000 this month and $5 next month. It doesn't matter. Very, very liquid, very, very flexible. There's no contract. It's not like Angie's List and Yellow Pages and Yelp when they're like, hey, try it out for a year. None of that garbage. And I didn't really prepare anything like this, but I've actually done stats on Angie's List and Yellow Pages, if some of you are still spending money on that, and Yelp, and about the cost per click and the leads that you got after talking to some of my ad reps. Google Ads was always, always, always cheaper per lead, right? So that's the other thing too, as a side note. That's not really part of this, but keep that in mind. Every time I've ever looked at those in depth for my own cleaning company, Google Ads were always cheaper than Angie's, than Yelp, than any of those other type of services, right? So keep that in mind if you do it right. That's the other thing too. I'm assuming, because somebody here could be going, well, geez, I tried it and it was terrible. You didn't do it right, guys. The thing is, can television advertising work for a cleaning company? Absolutely. All of it can work. You just have to have the strategy right. You have to have everything, have to have everything done right. So, okay, no commitments. The other neat thing is you can show up for other keywords that you're either not ranking for, or even like we just showed you with the case for carpet cleaning Denver, you can show up 2 or 3 times if you really want to go in and make it a big punch for one particular service, right? And I can guarantee that even if you're doing the greatest SEO around, you're probably not ranking for certain keywords in certain services. You can, or certain cities, right? You can do that with Google Ads, no questions asked, very, very easily, right? Another huge, great thing about it. Now, here's the other really neat thing too that I love. If you do actually learn Google Ads, right, you can actually beat your competition with a few of the tricks that we'll be showing you in this course. A couple of them I may allude to tonight, but again, keep in mind tonight's more about strategy. It's not really about the nuts and bolts and writing the ad. It's more about the strategy, but definitely you can beat your competition for sure, because your competition, this is what I always say, especially for some keywords like area rug cleaning and hardwood. And, there are certain services that, Google ad people don't really understand. Even if you know Google ads really well, you don't really understand area rug cleaning and all the intricate keywords that might be involved with that, right? And then the average carpet cleaner really doesn't understand Google ads like he should. So some of those ways, if you really learn it the right way, you can totally just demolish your competition, in Google ads, to where you literally might be spending $1 or $2 less per click than they are, right? Okay, so just a little bit too, because I can go and talk about it, but I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that there are people that are doing very well with Google Ads. So just a few quick kind of testimonials that I've gotten. Courtney Lee, he talks about me all the time. I've set up his Google Ads, and really this is the only advertising that he's done, and he's really built a really nice hardwood floor finishing business just off of the Google Ads that I set up for him. He was doing carpet cleaning, but he was able to switch to just doing hardwood, and then he got tired of the low job tickets. He wanted to make, better, higher job tickets. So Google Ads did this for him, right? And so we went and set everything up, and we've been running and monitoring his ads for him. But he's had record years in sales, fewer jobs done per day, but more sales, more sales figures for the month, for the week, for the year. And he's just happier with his business. Here's another client that's given me a Google review. Whenever they came to me, they were very skeptical. So they tried it before and tried other advertising, and just didn't really work out well for them. But after we'd set it up, probably for a month or two, I'm not even sure, a couple of months, they were doing a 6-to-1 return. And before that, they had a hard time getting ads to work at all. They'd been in business for a while, but now they're getting a great return on investment. They're able to scale their ads up, and even spend more if they want to. And the bigger thing is it's just more predictable sales, right? Because it's targeting those people who are actually looking for cleaning. Another client in a big metropolitan area, high-end area, that they went in and tried all sorts of other ads. They tried Google ads before too, again, and they just didn't do well with it at all. So spent thousands on ads and it didn't work, never able to make it work. Been in business for a while, but after we went and set up the ads and they did things right, they were getting great return on investment, able to scale rug cleaning, more predictable sales. Another client, same type of thing. He needed to keep his crews busy, been in business for years. Now he's getting a great return on investment. Right after we set up some ads for him, he booked an $11,000 job. I don't know if it was a few days later or a week later, but shortly thereafter, I remember him talking to him and saying, I just booked an $11,000 job. Right now, here's the thing. Okay, two things about this stuff that we just went over. I can't promise you that you're going to get those results, but I will tell you that those results are pretty typical. Right. And here's the other thing, too, that I get sometimes when I'm talking about teaching a course. Well, John, aren't you going to hold back some things? I'm not going to hold back anything. Everything that I actually do for each one of these clients that I set up the ads for and did this stuff, you are going to know how to do by the time we get done with this course. There's nothing that I'm holding back really with any of this stuff. So buckle up. We're going to start to rock and roll. So first thing that I always like to go over is bits of caution, right? There are some pitfalls to avoid with Google Ads, right? First and foremost, starting with a small budget is super, super important. Why is that? Well, you don't really know for sure that you're doing it right yet, right? So don't start off with $100 a day and $200 a day, $10. And granted, yes, there is a critical mass where you do want to be spending more and you're going to be making more, but start with a small budget, especially when you're first starting out. Two, quickly, and part of the reason why you start with small budgets, make sure your website sells. Okay, we've got a whole module we're going to be talking about key points and getting your website to sell. That is, if your website's garbage, it's, and I hate to say that about somebody's website, but here's a really good litmus test for that, right? If I sometimes ask guys when I'm coming to do Google ads for them, I say, do you ever get people calling you that say, hey, I'm on your website and I like what you said and I want you to be my cleaning company? If you don't get that, then probably your website's not that good, right? Now, you might get calls from Google Business, right? You might get calls from just, your phone number, or maybe they see your reviews. That's not the same thing. I'm talking about somebody actually on your website that you can tell they saw something on your website, they told you something that was on your website, and they were drawn in by what you said on the website, right? If that's the case, and there's a lot of, that's a whole nother hour-long topic, right? But you need to make sure your website sells. Test small, make sure that it sells. Target people whenever you do the ad in the settings. Just really one quick pitfall that I see a lot, right? If you're doing Google ads, make sure that you're targeting people in the settings that are people in your area. Because if not, it could be targeting people interested in your area, and that person might be in China doing data aggregation and pulling mailing lists, right? And you're going to pay $9 so that they can create a mailing list. That guy in China doesn't care, right? The guy in India doesn't care, right? So make sure you're targeting people in your area. Avoid smart campaigns. There's one smart campaign that's new. It's the Max Performance campaign that I do recommend on some level. It's maybe not my biggest recommendation, but for the most part, avoid smart campaigns. Smart campaigns are only smart for Google's checking account, not your checking account. So make sure you're doing manual CPC, but make sure you're doing expert mode is what you want to do when you're really going to set up Google ads. So the other big thing, and I get this a lot, I think I already even mentioned that, the client with the janitorial company that blew $2,000 and he didn't even know where it went. Your Google rep is your friend. They call you and bug you like crazy. They're not your friend. They try to make you feel like they're your friend, right? And they're here to help you. So they've got these recommendations because you don't know Google ads, right? I've talked to dozens and dozens of Google ad reps, right? I would venture to say that almost all of them, except for maybe one or two, hardly even knew Google ads. They just knew some script that they read about how to get you to go and make these crazy changes inside of your campaign. And I wish I was just making that up, but I'm not. I mean, I am dead serious, right? Don't listen to your Google ad rep unless you've got a specific question, you've got a specific thing you need to know how to do. And that's all you're just pinpointed on. How do I set up a max performance ad? They can probably help you with that. But, or short of that, or short of the ads not running, and even then I'd worry about that because they may lead you astray. But short of you knowing a good idea what's going on and just asking them a specific question on how to do something, I wouldn't listen to them at all, right? Now, the other big thing, big caution is make sure that you're monitoring your ads regularly, weekly, bare minimum monthly, right? Weekly, ideally every other week, every other week maybe. Monthly, bare minimum. You need to be getting in there and looking at what your ads are doing, look at what you actually paid for, right? Because there's a lot of weeding out, weeding in, and fixing that needs to be done regularly. And it's sometimes too, AdWords isn't a set it and forget it. It's a lot more set it and forget it than Facebook ads. So Facebook ads are super temperamental. I've done Facebook ads for lots of cleaning companies, right? Facebook ads are more temperamental than Google ads by far, but Google ads are not totally set and forget. You still got to go in and do some monitoring. You could probably get away with going in twice a month reasonably, if you really even had to once a month, to be able to monitor, kind of what's going on. All right, so now let's talk a bit about targeting niche services on Google ads. And by the way, I do want to see some questions. You guys can type them in now as we're going along. I want to see some questions when I get done here in just a few minutes. So targeting niche services. So this is one of the smart things that you want to do with Google ads. Realize that in some bigger cities, some of the main services that are the most known in the cleaning industry, like carpet cleaning, like maid service, it really seems like maybe those two sometimes can be saturated in big cities, right? So does that mean that you shouldn't do it? That does not mean that, because you can still go in and still make, some of the testimonials I just showed you, some of those clients were in some of the biggest cities in the US, okay? And they're still doing really, really well. So it still can be done, but just letting you know that sometimes to fight a lesser battle, you might want to either target certain small neighborhoods, and we're going to talk about kind of neighborhood marketing with Google ads here in just a minute, or you might want to target another service where it's not as competitive, and even then probably the company doing it doesn't really know the best keywords, right? And they don't really know how to really even write the best ad or how to have the best landing page, for any of these services. So having said that, and again, that's not the end all, because, I know guys that do really well with, carpet cleaning and maid service in super big cities too, right? But having said that, these are the little bit lesser battles, right? Hardwood cleaning and refinishing, area rug cleaning can be great, right? Carpet repair, mold remediation, even if you do the right keywords, right? Pet odor removal. So that's the other thing too. Maybe you do carpet cleaning and you love carpet cleaning, but maybe do pet odor removal instead, right? Forget about carpet cleaning. Don't even do an ad hardly for carpet cleaner. Maybe have it about carpet cleaning with keywords, but the whole ad talks about pet odor removal, or at least a good portion of your ad talks about pet odor removal, right? Instead of tile cleaning, if it's super saturated, especially some areas in like Texas and even Southern California and Hawaii, it's super, super competitive for tile cleaning. Maybe instead do an ad for grout dyeing, right? And grout repair if you do that, right? And then neighborhood targeting, that's the next thing that we're going to be talking about. So maybe maybe you're in a big metropolitan area and it is super expensive, right? What do you do, right? So, well, you target your ideal neighborhoods is what you do. And you can go in, for instance, I typed this in, I think today, and, maid services near me. And the funniest thing is that, nobody except for the big franchise Molly Maid showed up. Right. And I don't know if there might not be a neighborhood, maid service cleaning company, but what if there was? This is the point that I'm really wanting to make with you guys from a strategy standpoint, right? What if I targeted an ad only to this 1 mile radius around where I live, right? And or it doesn't have to be where I live, but what if they had targeted a 1 mile radius or 1 mile area? Because I live in a fairly affluent neighborhood, right? And what if they targeted an ad and said, hey, we're in the Timber Creek neighborhood, because actually Google knows where I'm at right here in Timber Creek. We're in the Timber Creek neighborhood, and we're the Timber Creek neighborhood cleaning company. I'm going to drop what I'm doing and go, crap, geez, this is the neighborhood cleaning company for my area. I'm going to give it high thought on clicking that ad and spending maybe a few more minutes extra interested in this particular company, if that's the case. But no, I just got Mary Maids of Fort Collins. Oh, okay. Okay, that's better than nothing. At least it says Fort Collins, which is, one of the things that we're going to talk about. But it would be better if it actually said my neighborhood, right? Well, you can do that in Google Ads. It's a little bit of an extra to do, but as far as work, but it's a lot more attractive, especially in the higher end areas. So realize that when you're targeting an ad, even just a regular search ad, you don't have to do a whole city. You can do just one zip code. You can do 2 or 3 zip codes. Like here in this case, we got 3 zip codes put in, but you can just do 1 zip code. You could even click on radius right here And then you could do just a mile radius. When you click on that, the next thing that you usually come up with is this. You can just do a 1 mile radius around a certain spot and hit that area, right? So lots of different options with that. But when you do that type of thing, you can actually go in and target and say, we're the neighborhood cleaning company and list that general area. Now, granted, this area might be a couple of different neighborhoods, but I'm going to show you an example in just a minute that we used to use all the time. Actually, I think it was just kind of an area. It was a golf course neighborhood, and the neighborhood that was called Scenic Hills, and it was right here. And we would actually target, that mile radius and people in Scenic Hills, neighborhood cleaning company with Scenic Hills, the next neighborhood over, which was almost as nice as Scenic Hills, but not quite. They still sort of looked up to Scenic Hills and kind of understood that they were in that same area, and it was attractive to them as well. So we would do neighborhood EDDM, as a side note, we would do EDDM neighborhood campaigns here. Then we would also go in and, of course, do just a 1 mile, 2 mile radius sometimes for Google Ads and talk about we're the neighborhood cleaning company there. So understand kind of, and we're going to get into neighborhood marketing in a little bit more detail in a second for the strategy on that, but understand this is the one of the strategies that I normally like to use for kind of the hierarchy of how I do Google Ads. Okay. This is not the only way to do it. There's other ways to do it. I found this is better because it's better to figure out where you want to stop running ads and where you don't want to stop. And then two, what's the most profitable areas. And then the other times too, a lot of the times whenever I did Google Ads in my own cleaning company, I was very particular about, especially once we got busy during busy seasons, we would cut out a lot of our advertising and maybe still keep it in certain areas of town, right? So I like to have my ads hierarchy that way, right? So the best way that I found to do it, again, not the only way, is with your campaign. Your campaign, you do have to have a geographical area within that campaign. So I usually, would have a campaign and call that campaign a city because you have to target it with a geographical area. So I would call that campaign a city or a zip code. It doesn't have to be a city, right? It could be a zip code. It could be the state. I wouldn't do the whole state. I wouldn't do more than one city ever, by the way, with Google Ads is another side note. But it would be a city, a zip code, or maybe even that 1 mile radius and just call it the Scenic Hills neighborhood, right? Underneath that, you're going to have ad groups. And under the ad groups, each ad group is a service. So we would do an ad group for, Scenic Hills, and then we would have services for one ad group for carpet cleaning, one ad group for rug cleaning, one ad group for water damage restoration, right? Under that ad group, there's different ads. There's an ad for the carpet cleaning ad group, an ad for the rug cleaning ad group, ad for the water damage ad group. And again, when we get into this hierarchy in the Google Ads, I'll show you guys a little bit more of this. But in the ad, we're going to talk more about what we're going to say in the ad, and then making sure that when they land on the website, that we also talk about almost everything that we talked about up here. You see what I'm saying? So here on the website, we're going to talk about that geographical area. We're going to talk about what we talked about in the ad. We're going to talk about what that ad group was about, which was obviously that service, carpet cleaning. And then we're also going to talk about the geographical spot. So make sure that all of that is in harmony from the bottom up, right? And again, we're going to be talking about more of that, but I just wanted you guys to be exposed to that in case you were kind of wondering. The campaign is the geographical spot, whatever it may be. It could be the world if you want it to be, but the smaller, I don't know about always the smaller the better, but the smallest I would recommend is city, sometimes zip code, sometimes even a 1 mile radius for like a neighborhood, right? Doesn't always have to be, but something like that. And then the ad group is the actual service. So neighborhood talking a little bit about that. So targeting a neighborhood in your area, targeting the neighborhood or a zip code, like we talked about, it doesn't have to be, doesn't even have to be a whole zip code. You could pick one house and target a 1 mile radius around that. And we're going to show you, again, when we get into that portion, we're going to show you specifically how to do that. Put the known area name in the ad. So if it's an ad for the Scenic Hills neighborhood, you're going to say Scenic Hills neighborhood cleaner in the ad. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a second, right? You're going to mention the area as well. You want to not only, but you want to mention it at the top of the landing page that they go to. By the way, a landing page, there's still, I talked to a web designer the other day who didn't know what a landing page was. And I was like, I didn't understand. I could kind of understand sometimes from you guys when you're like, what's the landing page? But a web designer, a web development professional, but at any rate. So a landing page is basically just a web page, any web page. It's just the page that you decide to have them go to from your ad. Doesn't even have to be an ad, but the page that you decide to have them go to from somewhere else, right? The page that you picked. Could be the home page, right? Could be the carpet cleaning page, could be the water damage page. Just make sure though that it's relevant to whatever the ad was about. So don't send them from a carpet cleaning ad to a page that talks about upholstery cleaning. Don't send them from a tile cleaning ad to a page that talks about carpet cleaning, right? Make sure that it's very, very relevant. So, and an example, again, an ad shows up for searches. Maybe you only do one zip code, right? 80528, right? And then the ad mentions possibly that neighborhood, might even mention the zip code, right? But maybe that side of town, could be any of the above, right? But just something to them to call them out and say, hey, this is our area. Then when clicked, the page that they actually land on, the landing page, mentions that neighborhood. So that might mean that you might need to create a bunch of different landing pages. But in the end, especially if it was really good neighborhoods that you're trying to get in with, it could be a really good thing, to do it that way. A little bit of extra work, but very worth it, and definitely could make your ad more noticeable. So highly recommend, these things, and these are kind of some things we already touched on. Using the city and the location actually in the headline of the ad, right? Running separate ads for each service. And we kind of talked about that. If you do an upholstery cleaning ad, don't include that with the carpet cleaning ad. The upholstery cleaning ad is a separate ad, right? The tile cleaning ad is a separate ad. Even if a lot of you guys do 4, 5, 6 different services, that's fine. Have a separate ad for each. Have a separate ad group for each. Separate ads for each city and location would be smart too. Separate landing pages for each ad. And then ideally, even as a side note, running a remarketing campaign, which just basically means doing a smaller cost per click campaign back to the people who have already been on your website. It's called a remarketing campaign ad. We've got a module where we talk about that as well. So, and the neat thing about that is maybe the first time you spent $9 on having them go to your website. Well, now you can show that an ad back up to them on various places. I'm going to show you a couple examples in a second, and that it might only cost you 50 cents or $1 if they click on it, right? So that's where remarketing is really neat. So again, just to reiterate, targeting people in. Make sure that you've got this when you set up your ad, this ad, Midland, Texas, presence, people in or regularly in your locations, right? By default, and it's stupid, but they recommend this. This is not what you want, guys, right? Presence, people in or regularly in or show interest in. And again, I promise you, I've looked at the geographical locations to where people have come from. When you have this clicked, by default it shows up there. It's going to be people from India, sometimes just as much as the local people, not always, but sometimes people from India, China, Africa, all over the place, right? And I guarantee you they're not looking for your service, right? They're doing data aggregation, or it's robots sometimes too. So go to expert mode for sure, and that's going to be up in usually it's going to be under tools. You're going to click it if it's not already there. But basically, if your ads look weird, nothing like we're going to be showing you in some of the videos, you're probably not in expert mode. By default, you're going to start in smart mode, right? It's smart for Google, not for you. You need to be in expert mode. And then the other thing, we're not really going to talk about specifically words in the ad, but you want to say things in the ad that sell, right? We're going to give you lots of examples, lots of ideas, but you want to make sure that you're saying specific things in your ads that actually sell. Okay, so the other neat thing is you can do display ads on Google, kind of having an online billboard, right? This isn't for everybody, but there are specific occasions where this can be a really, really good, smart thing to do, right? One of them would be a Google remarketing campaign, like we kind of talked about. So one of the things that I did, in fact, this is actually a YouTube video that I put out, and actually did this YouTube video in an ad, right? This is a YouTube video in front of the neighborhood sign for the golf course neighborhood right around the corner of my shop. So a lot of these people probably drove by my shop. So that was another plus, right? And so I'm right in front of the neighborhood sign. This picture, I've kind of got my hands and moved in the way, but you see the sign in the video pretty well. And I'm just mentioning that we're the neighborhood cleaning company. We're located around the corner, and just a 1.5-minute long video, right? And people would see that and go, wow, this guy is obviously the neighborhood cleaning company, right? At the same time too, on slower afternoons, my guys may go and put flyers there. We did EDDM there almost, I don't know, about every other month, but we did it very often throughout the year. During certain times, we would do EDDM to that same neighborhood as well. And we would do a display ad campaign specifically for that neighborhood, because we were the neighborhood cleaning company, right? And we cleaned for almost every single house in that whole area. Maybe not every single, but very, very very many of them, right? We surely clean for. So you can do that with a YouTube ad. I mean, you can just even do that for free, create a YouTube ad and target it as, that neighborhood cleaning, right? That's something that's super easy to do and just show up. I think we showed up when you actually Googled just that neighborhood and the city name for a while. I don't know if it still shows up for that, but just because I made that video and tagged it as that's not really Google ads, but from an SEO standpoint, that's something to consider. But then we also took that same thing and put it in those Google display ads. We put it in remarketing ads, and we also, I think we even did a YouTube ad for a little while just for that area. So, and here's also another ad that we would do that would show up on various news stations. And you can't say for sure that it's going to show up there, but it would show up on local news. A lot of the times, they're Google display ads, right? We don't do it all over the city by any stretch. In fact, we probably spent an average of $20, $30 a month, guys, on doing this. It might be a little bit more now, but from what I've seen from some of my clients lately, it's not that much more, right? Especially if it's a small mile radius for a certain neighborhood, right? So do you want to show up for ads like this in some really key neighborhoods or a couple of mile radiuses here and there for certain areas? Everybody say yes, because you probably do. There might be occasions where you don't, but you probably do. Right. So where, possibly these same people will work even better again if they've gotten an EDDM, and you don't have to have gotten them an EDDM, but, a neighborhood postcard is what that would be. But that would complement, that type of a campaign greatly if you did this. But even then you can do this by itself, right? We're doing this, and I think we had a giveaway for a little bit, but we did this and got a lot of people on our mailing list and just a lot of goodwill, for that area. That was the big thing, is we didn't give away the farm and even free whole houses of carpet cleaning for a lot of places, but in fact, I think it's the only time we ever did it. But it really created a lot of goodwill for that neighborhood, right? This is one of the ways, guys, that you win and become a neighborhood cleaning company, right? So, and again, this is like on weather.com, I think, but you can show up in various news. There's not really a way that you can pick for sure. Well, there are ways that you can pick for sure where it shows up, but that gets a little bit more complicated. But it shows up in various news stations locally just for those people. It's pretty neat, to be able to do that way. So really the way that you do it, again, is you go in and you go to all campaigns under the targeting. You just target specific areas. You pick one house that's in there, but that you looked up on Google, target 1 mile around that house or that business or whatever that one address is that you wanted to do. So, and then as well, you're going to put in maybe pictures of, I don't know, it could be your vans. It could be you in front of that neighborhood sign, smiling, maybe that your company van in front of that neighborhood sign. In my case, they probably, we were, on this next big street over from where they were at, a few miles away. So a lot of them knew where we were. So, we talked about where we were at was our big thing, and that we had a good reputation, won awards in the city and stuff like that, right? So that's the kind of thing that you want to talk about. So a couple other highly recommends to this. So again, tonight we're just talking about strategy. We're going to get into questions here in just a second, but a couple of highly recommends when you do this. Again, go over the course, even for what is there existing in the course. We are adding, the only thing that's really changed significantly is the assets, and we're going to do a whole new module on that. I think we're going to do another one on neighborhood marketing. All of those are coming. The one on assets is going to be coming tomorrow. You want to make sure that you're filling out your assets, but I do highly, highly recommend, guys, though, that if you do this, set up the ad and maybe either just pause it, consider that, until, and I will, if you're part of the Google ad course, or if you're in the coaching club, I will review your ad, unless I have just recently reviewed your ad, in the last couple of months. I first want to get to the guys who I haven't reviewed ads yet, recently. But I will review your ad. So you might either want to wait or just maybe run it and test it for $10 a day, see what it's going to do. Because, we've even got some modules on how to monitor it and really what to look at. Because some of the times, the other thing is, even if you have somebody else doing Google ads for you, you kind of need to know about some of this stuff. You need to know how to tell, like, what am I really spending the money on? Where are my clients going? What's really, really going on? So at any rate, if you feel inclined, then yes, even at this point, go ahead and jump into what's in the course. Do a small ad, maybe test $10 a day, or maybe just pause it. And again, if you want me to look at it later. But the big thing, again, just monitor it. Monitor it, monitor it, monitor it. Don't just set it and forget it. That's the biggest way to, potentially could be a nightmare for you. Right. So make sure that you're monitoring. So let's see here. What questions have we also got coming in on the chat? Or let's see if somebody personally messaged me. Let's see here. Annotations. They're talking about here. Okay. Let's see. Couple questions. Maybe this is too soon, but what strategy do you recommend for the slower seasons? That's a good question. I recommend mostly, because here's the thing, and a good point. That's a good question, though. Google is really, like we talked about. That's why that's where I really wanted to go over the strategy, because you need to understand what Google is and what it's about, where the confines are. Every marketing that you're going to do has confines, right? And you need to understand that Google is based on perceived need. And a lot of the times that's really, really good, because it's only people that are perceiving the need for your service. But at the same time, the drawback is on slow weeks, on slow months, there aren't as many people that perceive the need. Meaning there aren't as many people that go to Google and Google carpet cleaning, tile cleaning, maid service, whatever, right? Because they're not thinking about it right then, right? If they're not, they only type this in. If there's two people that type this in, right? Your competitor, which if we've got a click cease program that I actually recommend. I'm going to be talking to you guys about that in just a little bit, but where you can actually filter out competitors, repeat clicks, and data aggregators in other countries even more so, right? The people in, like we just talked about, helps, but there's other ways to do it as well. So, but it's either your competitor researching, or it's kind of like you probably go in and type in carpet cleaning quite a bit, right? If you have a carpet cleaning company, right? Or it's somebody looking for a cleaning service, right? So they're perceiving the need, but in January and February, they're not perceiving the need as much. So what do? Well, still do a Google ad campaign, right? Good chance you're not going to spend as much. Okay. If you're doing things right, then you might even want to scale the campaign down just a little bit just to make sure. But still do one. Don't expect to get anywhere near the jobs that you got from it in the middle of December or the beginning of December, though, right? And again, that might change based on weather, based on rain, based on politically what's going on. I mean, who knows what's going on in the country or your city. All of that changes quite a bit on how people perceive the need. But keep in mind, it's perceived need. So what do I recommend instead, right? This isn't really Google ads, but I recommend in January, February, hammering on, and this is stuff that we've got in the coaching club a lot, stuff for special offers that you send to your past clients, right? Even if you just did business with them 6 months ago. If you did carpet cleaning for them, they don't know that you do the other services. Or if they do, they don't know that all the benefits to those other services. So educating them about all of those things, right? Sending them a postcard, an email, maybe even a text message. You got to be really careful about text messages, but sometimes if you do it tastefully, right? But something like that, right? The other thing too is maybe at that point starting to market to realtors and commercial facilities. Sometimes January, for certain types of commercial, that's when their fiscal year's starting and they've got the budget open, or that's just when the budget opens back up for some companies, and they're ready to start blowing money again on cleaning, right? There you go. So that would be what I would recommend. And here's the other thing too, that from just a general marketing strategy standpoint, guys, I literally have known guys who were ranking really, really well on Google, blowing business up, and all of a sudden their website stops ranking. So here's the thing. I don't know of any company, not my own company, not Howard Partridge's, not Rob Allen's, not anybody's, that stayed #1 ranking on Google for like a decade plus, like all the time, for every city they ever wanted to rank for. It doesn't happen, and Google makes sure that happens, right? So it's for organic ranking. That's kind of another reason why you want to do Google ads. But at the same time, what the real point with that too is, don't just rely on Google ads. What if Google ads just starts to, I don't know, maybe they decide not to do carpet cleaning ads anymore? What if Google goes under? What if, I don't know, right? And I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon, but someday it probably will, right? Or somebody else will take their place, right? This is, it's kind of weird to think about that, but it's true. Don't put all your eggs in Google ads. Even if it's working well, I'd still recommend that you have another, because sometimes, just like I mentioned too, it's not always going to work super, super well every single week, every single month, right? So always have another 2 or 3 types of media that you're getting clients in, and it might be a good referral program with realtors, might be a lot of different things, but I would recommend that you target on that. So Matthew's asking, what strategy do you recommend to get more rug cleaning? I pick the rugs up and clean them at my facility and deliver them back. Google ads can be great for rug cleaning. right? It can be really, really good for rug cleaning, and then it would be basically an ad. And we're going to, even give you some new examples coming in for actual ad examples, but basically an ad where you're going to talk about your facility. You might even want to do an ad, a Performance Max ad, where you show your business location, especially if they drop it off, right? And then you also might want to do, have an asset where you have your ad actually show your business location. It can be really, really good. On your landing page, talk about your location and how you do offer. By the way, with area rug cleaning, there's a quick thing on that for just specifically. Area rug cleaning, one of the best things you can say in your ad is free pickup and delivery. So make a way to make that work. And that always is the most, I see that all the time. It's the most attractive thing in an area rug cleaning ad. Yeah. Okay. So Steve had messaged me and asked me what kind of budget. I'm on a low budget. So what kind of budget should I actually put in for Google Ads? You can do it with as little as a few hundred, especially if you're just doing it yourself, guys. If you're having me do it, I usually recommend at least $500 just to make it worth the while. But if you're doing it yourself, you could do it for as little as $200 or $300 a month. Like I said, even if you wanted to target one specific neighborhood or two, it might only be $20, $30, $50. I mean, I can't say for sure because it might depend on what your competitors are bidding on, but it can be just a little bit of money. You can actually do this for really, really cheap. So don't get bogged down with that so much. You just need to figure out how to hone in and really target just that one neighborhood. That's really kind of the thing. So when Mike's asking, what's the best keywords or the best keywords with services to target? So, without getting into the specifics of keywords, probably, like I said, area rug cleaning, hardwood. A lot of guys are just killing it with hardwood. And a couple of the testimonials that I just showed you were specifically guys that do majority hardwood or a lot of hardwood anyway, and a lot of area rug cleaning, right? Still could be great for carpet cleaning. I still have a lot of clients that do well for carpet cleaning. Again, the bigger the city, sometimes the more challenging it could be, but I still have clients in big cities that do well, with carpet cleaning, with maid service, with janitorial. And yeah, for commercial, it can work well too. By the way, as a side note, Facebook ads for commercial is like, and for hardwood for finishing, and for area rug cleaning, don't even attempt. I mean, I've never known of anybody, and I've done a lot of Facebook ads, right? And I've never known anybody that's done well on Facebook for hardwood or area rug cleaning, right? Could happen, don't get me wrong. And, we did a water damage ad at one point just because there was a big flood in the area, and it did okay. But I mean, other than that, you probably can't do well with water damage either unless it was event based, right? And not to say that it can't work, because there's still, and I'm totally open. I mean, I've used Facebook ads to great success at times. It just was temperamental. That's one of the things I didn't like about it. And it got more and more to where you had to have that low price offer for it to even really work at all. But at any rate, so that really, area rug cleaning and hardwood are a couple of the best, right? Let's see here. Oh, so on Facebook, let's see what I got. Restoration 911 says number one all the time. I'm not sure what you mean. What do you know? How do you know the performance is good? Well, that's a great question. And so we'll have a whole, maybe not entire module, but part of a module on kind of tracking. So a few different things you could do. One, you can actually set up conversions. Now you have to either be really good at being your own webmaster or get your webmaster involved with that, because code does have to be embedded in the back end of the website. The other kind of drawback with that is it's not always 100% accurate, because what we found, and clients will go in and prospects will go in, and even though they're on that one page, they'll click on a different page and they might call you from the other page anyway. So that happens a lot. So it's not always, conversions are more for like an online business, and most of the time we book our jobs from phone, right? So you do have to have a trackable phone number as well. There's a lot to it to be able to do that. So the other way to do it would be using Google Analytics really well, or using a heat map. There's a product called Hotjar that we've used that can be really good for seeing where people are going on your page, where they came from. If you use our software, our Go High Level software, you can actually see if somebody filled out a form where they came to you from. So that's really neat as well. Yeah, so that's just part of it, to be able to kind of see lots of different options. Really, that's kind of an hour-long showing you and conversation, but and the basics would be conversions, but you do have to have a dedicated landing page for that. But the biggest thing that I would do is ask everybody where you heard about us from, right? And so you need to already know where you're ranking and what's going on, right? So for instance, if you're, if you don't actually rank in Denver and you don't, and that client's in Denver, and you ask them, hey, where'd you hear about us from? Oh, I'm on your website. Well, they don't know if it's Google Ads or it's organic or where, Google Maps or whatever, but maybe you're in the outside area and for sure you're not ranking there. You're like, okay, well, they came to me from Google Ads. See, but you do have to, I recommend that anyway, that you ask everybody that you talk to, where they heard about you from. So that could be another way. The other way is to track analytics, and you can kind of find out how many people percentage-wise went to your website from organic versus Google Maps versus a click from Facebook versus Google Ads. You even kind of see those stats too in Google Ads. We'll be getting into more of that when we go. So, but it's really about asking everybody and then kind of knowing where percentage-wise everybody kind of came from, where that money was spent, that type of thing, and knowing where you're already ranking. Either that or just do some hardcore analytic or conversions. Analytics too are just pretty easy to do, but the harder setup is conversions. And even then realize that it's not always 100% accurate because people do click other weird things right inside your website. So, and then you do have to have the dedicated landing page. So how about targeting condos and hotels? Yeah, you can. Now, you can't really, you could target condos maybe from, if it was a big condo complex, you could target like the mile radius, like we showed you, in the slide, right? You can target like the 1 mile radius and just get people in that one condo area. Probably a better marketing, because here's the other thing too, guys, from a marketing strategy standpoint, whenever you're thinking about, you never start your advertising media, or you should never start your advertising media going, I want to do Facebook ads, I want to do Google ads. Don't start there. Start with, I want to target condos. And I want to target condos with this message: we're the best commercial condo and hotel cleaning company in our city, right? And then you need to sit down and think, what's the best media to contact those people in those condos and hotels with the message that we're the best commercial company for condos and hotels? Is that media Google Ads? It's probably not, to be honest with you. If it's all you want to target is, with that campaign, condos and hotels, you could do that 1 mile radius, right? You still probably want to do remarketing ad to the people that went to your website, but it's probably better. You're probably better off doing a referral program and talking to them manually, or a letter sequence, which we've got a letter sequence for that in the coaching club as well. We've got an entire commercial course where we go and we show you, and well, you could do Google ads. It's not going to only target condos and hotels, but you could do Google ads specifically for commercial. So that's definitely a thing to do. Let me see if I can refresh this page. See if I had any other comments. So you can do Google ads targeting just commercial carpet cleaning, tile cleaning, strip and wax, things like that. That's totally doable, but I don't think you're only going to hit condos. I think you're also probably going to hit, other types of businesses. So good. All right. Well, hey, magically, we're just about right at the top of the hour. Let me see if I had any other questions. Let's see. Okay, well, one more. Carpet, rugs, upholstery. Do you ever recommend using a price in the ad copy? Well, that's great. That's something that we're actually going to touch on, but why not answer that now? Probably not, right? Unless there's maybe a reason. Now, we were the most expensive carpet, tile, rug cleaning company in our city just about all the time, right? I tested it. I was like, well, I'll just, we were kind of even in a busy time, right? So why not? We'll throw our prices up there, see what happens. Our sales response from our website was cut in half overnight, right? Because they're like, good grief, this is expensive, forget it, right? So if you're a lot lower priced than the average competitor, that might be a time to do it. But the other thing is, I'd like to slap you on the wrist, because you shouldn't be, unless you're just not a good cleaning company. If you're more into, volume and not really quality, then okay. I don't know. There's business models for that. I won't get into all the ins and outs. It's your company, do what you want. But for the most of you that are solo operators, unless you have many trucks, a lot of trucks, I don't recommend that you try to be the least expensive. I recommend that you be very expensive, right? And come up with reasons why you're more expensive than the other cleaning companies in town. Put those, and that's what we're going to talk about. We get into website copy. Put those reasons why you're more expensive instead of putting prices, right? To where they read all those reasons and they go, wow, these guys seem like they're really good. They must be a little bit more, maybe a lot more than the average cleaning company. But geez, it seems like it's worth it because of these guarantees, because of all this extra stuff, that their reputation and all this other stuff that we do. And again, we're going to get into that in detail, but the nutshell is probably not, unless you're pretty cheap, so. All right, guys, I'll give you just maybe one other second in case anybody else has another last second question. Otherwise, we're calling the webinar to a close. The recording should be up here in another, probably tomorrow. I'll probably leave this recording here up for the weekend. So, all right, I don't see any other questions. So, all right, guys, I will also put the link. If you haven't signed up for you can either sign up for the coaching club. It's $147 per month. There's no obligation. I always tell everybody, if it's helping you, I know you're just going to naturally stay in the coaching club for years to come, right? Or however long you're in business. If it's not helping you, I don't want you to stay in next month, right? There's no obligation to stay in for any length of time. I'll also put the link to the Google Ads course. The Google Ads course itself, if you only want that, is $697. So there you go. So, all right, guys, God bless. Have a great rest of the evening. We'll talk with you soon. Bye.